So I came across something interesting today, both with a few clients that I am working with and with myself. And I noticed that every day you wake up, you're motivated to take action on creating the vision that you have. And as the week goes on, you sometimes wonder, like, did I do enough? And that voice in your head, that monster's like, you didn't do enough, just keeps creeping up. And then on the other hand, you have this feeling like, hey, I should be patient with myself. And so when deciding like what your next step is, you ask yourself like, well, what voice should I listen to? Should I listen to the voice that tells me that you haven't done enough, you're not taking enough action, you're way far behind, go, 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 go? Or do you listen to the side that's like, hey, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Give yourself some time, be patient with yourself, be kind, be compassionate. And these two opposing voices typically end up making us feel paralyzed, where you really just don't know what action to take. So what ends up happening is when you rest, your mind is half resting and half in the actions that you need to take. And that creates anxiety because it's like, oh shit, I'm not doing anything. I need to be doing something. And then when you're doing something, you're actually thinking to yourself like, my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. Like, I need to be resting. So you're not fully present with either one of these. So like, what voice do you choose? Which one's right? Should you be compassionate or should you be motivated? Well, the sign of wisdom is the ability to hold two opposing thoughts in the mind at the same time. And so like when we're younger, we're taught right from wrong. We're taught like a very binary world as we're being like domesticated as kids, right? This is how you play nice, and this is what not playing nice is. This is what good is, this is what bad is. But then when we become adults, we have the option to do anything, to choose anything. And so we continue to think with that kind of child mindset of like, what is right, this or that? And the reality is that they're both right. So how do you simultaneously hold both those thoughts and make them both useful for yourself instead of demonizing yourself for being too relaxed or being too anxious to get things done? So the first thing is you need to acknowledge this anxiety that you're feeling. And acknowledging the anxiety and doing something with it, that's a whole nother video. So once you are able to acknowledge it with like your right mind, you want to ask yourself like, well, where do I need rest? Where do I need to like fill my cup back up? Because as they say, like you need to serve the world from the saucer, not the cup, and make sure that your cup is overflowing so they can, so you can serve from people from drinking from the saucer, not the cup, something like that. And so ask yourself like, what do I need for my self-care? Because that comes first. If you look in the weekly planning video that I did, I talk about when you plan your week, plan your self-care first. When do you sleep? When do you meditate? When do you get a massage? When do you exercise? When do you prepare your food? All of that stuff, because you need to come first. If you are not feeling that joy, that excitement, and all the other positive emotions that come through your service to the world or your art, well, then it's going to be consumed in the energy that you created it. And if you're creating it with being exhausted, or you're creating it from anxiety or guilt, then you're not going to be turning out really good work. Okay, so plan your rest first. So the I need rest is taken care of. Then you need to take a look at the I'm not doing enough. Now, in the last post that I put, I wrote that wisdom is failure minus shame. So the reason that shame is so useful, my computer's going off here. The reason that shame is so useful is because it calls our attention to something that needs to be done. So it's actually good to feel a little bit of shame, but it's not good to hold on to it. So you need to acknowledge the shame of, oh man, I'm not doing enough, and allow that to cause your attention to focus on it. And so once you have kind of released that shame, think to yourself, well, what needs to be done? Do you need to make that phone call? Do you need to sit at the computer and knock something out? Do you need to get out of the house and make an appointment? Whatever it may be. And you want to create a task list from that. So not enough is getting done. Well, not is a void. So what needs to be done? Well, I want to get done A, B, C, and D. All right, so now that you have A, B, C, and D, it's time to put it in your calendar. So when you put it in your calendar, you don't want to operate off of due dates. You want to operate off of when are you going to do it, how long is it going to take, what does it look like to be done, and where is this task going to take place, okay? So when you put it in your calendar, set aside a time to start it, figure out how much time it's going to take, and then add 20%. The reason you add 20%, so let's say it's going to take you 45 minutes, schedule yourself an hour. If you think it's going to take 90 minutes, schedule yourself 2 hours, because monsters have the right to be in the creation process. Resistance has the right to be in the creation process. So if you're taking a task that's 45 minutes long and you only give yourself 45 minutes, what you're doing is you're saying to your monsters, like, you don't belong here, you're not allowed, sit down, shut up, and don't have a voice. And you don't want to take your monster's voice away from you. Again, we want to step into our resistance. We want to allow the resistance because it has value. And plus, when you don't allow time for the resistance, then the resistance is going to come up one way or another. And if you're not allowing it, then in the back of your mind while you're doing that task, you're going to be having like the anxiety of like, oh shit, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. Whereas if you schedule more time than is needed, then it's okay for you to procrastinate a little bit or have writer's block or whatever that may be. So the next step is to ask yourself, what does it look like for it to be complete? Like, do you send the document off to somebody? Do you post that? Do you post that piece of content? Do you if it's a letter, do you like put a stamp on it and send it in the mail? Whatever it may be. What does done look like? And it has to look like an action, not like I feel good about it, because actions are binary. It's either you do it or you don't. So there's something that is evident that it is complete. And once you've done that, then you choose a location. Where am I going to do this? And that helps you visualize like what getting this task is done like. And then you place it in your calendar. So let's say you have A, B, C, and D, and you schedule that on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. Now that it's in your calendar, and your rest and rejuvenation and personal care is in your calendar, then the only game is integrity. Your intentions, your commitments, and your actions all being the same thing. And what the calendar does is the calendar states your intention, and it like locks in your commitment. I'm doing it at this time, and then all that's left is follow through. So now the question of am I doing enough? The answer is yes. It's in the calendar, and I'm committed to that, and I've committed to that. And should I be patient with myself? The answer is yes, and you've committed to that. So after that, the only game is integrity. And that's what you want to do, is you want to set yourself up in order for integrity to be the only game that you're playing. That your intentions, your commitments, and your actions are the same thing. Because then you can, if it doesn't happen, then one of those things broke down. And if you did the planning right, and you did this exercise correctly, then the thing that is off was your actions. Once that happens, there's going to be guilt that you didn't follow through, which is great. And then we go back to that guilt and say, well, why am I feeling guilty? Well, because I didn't follow through with my calendar. Well, didn't is a void. You were supposed to do this at Tuesday. You were supposed to do this on Tuesday at 1 p.m. What were you doing at Tuesday at 1 p.m.? I was watching Netflix. Well, what was it about Netflix that made it feel like it was more fulfilling than doing that task? Well, it was mindless. That's a void. It was easy, and it gave me joy. Well, did it give you as much joy as doing the task would be? No. So why did you choose Netflix over the task? What's there? And you can start to deconstruct that to see what monster is holding you back from taking that action. And so then you can go through the process again, find a place in your calendar to put it, a start time, how long is it going to take, what does it look like when it's going to be done, where are you going to do it, and then you work on the integrity mechanism again. Once you plan the right way, once you interact with your resistance the right way, integrity is the only game. So back to the original point, should I be patient with myself, or am I not doing enough? The answer is yes to both. being able to hold two opposing thoughts at the same time is the sign of wisdom. And it actually gives you all the answers that you need. But if you don't investigate, if you don't speak up, which is the first rule of precise language, then all it's going to be is this ping pong back and forth of I'm getting rest, but I should be working. I'm working, but I should be resting, and you're half in it the whole time. And so, in order to fully do something, you have to be fully present in it. So try this exercise out next time that you're kind of debating whether you should be patient with yourself or you should be a little bit tougher on yourself. Put it in the calendar, and then integrity is the only game. Let me know how this works for you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.